working. I don't know why it's working now. So I'm also going to get, I think it's, yeah, Chris. I need to get his phone number, invite him by phone number. Did some of you guys get my reminder, my text message that I was still fooling around with this?
I didn't see it.
Okay, I just want to make sure if something last minute happening. I don't know why it's working now. So I'm also going to get. This is weird. Technology's weird. Looks like Yvette's still not feeling very good, huh?
I'm much better, thank you.
Oh, good. Okay, how about the first thing we're going to do is talk about our field trips and like what you did. So why don't let's see, Danielle, you start while I'm listening to you while I'm finding Chris's phone number. So can you tell us what you saw, what you did, what you noticed?
Yeah, can I go in 1 second? My computer is kind of freezing.
Yeah.
Try to.
How about we'll start Jerry then? You want to go, Jerry?
Sure. Went to the Mulligans, which was the arcade one. Probably not a good thing to do. Stayed there way too long. And I just enjoyed a lot of it. The miniature golf thing, you know, people were so, I mean, everyone was there, you were there as interpersonal, I think, because everyone was interacting really well, playing and having a good time, enjoying it. People didn't know what they were doing. They would, you know, explain to them, and there was a good camaraderie there. People were making fun of each other as they were missing things and making easy stuff. So I really enjoyed that. That was fun. Then going to the Best Buy, which was kind of cool. But because there was a bunch of kids there, and they were all playing the video games because they have them out there, the Xbox and the PlayStation. They were playing a bunch of games and just really enjoying it, having a good time. And once again, you know, it's totally interacting with each other. You know, like I said, on the thing is, I don't really think they realize it, but you know, they're really getting a lot better with their hand-eye coordination, and that stuff. And then there was one kid were playing one of these things called Rock Band. So they were playing musical instruments and just, you know, really having a good time because you got to match things up with the game. It was just really fun. They really gravitated. All the kids seemed to gravitate towards that. A lot of the adults gravitated over towards the iPods and the computers and iPads, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I went to, like I said, I went to the Toys R Us, and I had the most fun watching was the kids. I just started watching a couple kids playing with Legos. And next thing I know, I was over there playing with the Legos, you know, kind of making things up because they have this big old box of them, and you just kind of make them and play with them. And I was like, the Legos alone are just so interactive with everything. I mean, because it opens your mind up for all kinds of stuff. You have to build and think things through and apply what you're thinking to what you're doing, and you get information from other people and you know, advice from someone else and trying what they said and what they're doing, and just kind of let your mind run free. It was pretty awesome. I think Legos are going to be a thing on my list to definitely have in the classroom.
I think Legos hits a lot of different intelligences.
I think it almost
so much too. You know, I mean, look at even Lego robotics. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy. But that seemed to be the one kids that were there. They didn't want to leave. You know, mom was all, okay, it's time to go, and they're like, oh, just a minute, just a minute. You know, my wife was telling me it's time to go. I'm like, just a minute. I want to do my thing. So I know, like kids, I know how you felt on that one. So, but it was a good thing. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
So it sounds like compared to other times that you had gone to like Mulligan's, you were looking at it differently this time because of what?
Yeah, you know, before you go to Mulligan's, you don't really pay attention to anything. Whoever you're with, you're just dealing with them, and then when you start to sit back and kind of watch, you see everybody's kind of acting the same. They're all interacting the same type of way. They're, you know, they're taking, you know, applying what they're doing different ways, but it's all like the same momentum. They're all going the same way. Right. You don't pay attention to it at all unless you know, I don't. At least I hadn't. never really thought about it unless unless you're out there playing something and someone gets in a fight. That's about the only time you really pay attention to anything.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was kind of fun to watch and see how like wow I see that and it was interesting. It was interesting and fun at the same time.
Cool. That's great. Okay, thank you. Danielle, how are you? Are you up and running?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
I went to Toys R Us, and it was kind of fun to just play around with the things, and it was really interesting to see how games that I played when I was, 10 have evolved. So a lot of the things I saw were memory games, and that's what I talked about mainly.
Okay.
A game called, like the Bop It game. They still have that out there. And then there's this ABC game where you took a card and you had 15 seconds to look at it, and then you had to put it back and then try to say what was on the card. So it's all about testing your memory and things like that, which I think is really good for the classroom. Even, I mean, educational would be the best bet. But even having students, play the Bop It game, it's
Right.
fun, hands-on, it's manipulative, and it's still exercising the brain. So yeah, that was really fun, and it was fun to walk around and see how I think sometimes the parents were having more fun than the kids with some of the games. That was cool. And then the technology store I went to was Apple Store because I actually had to go there. I'm in 512 class, so I had to go there for our field trip. We literally went there, the class, and talked about our iPads. So I just stayed for a while and kind of looked at what people were doing. And the one thing I noticed was that there weren't a lot of young kids in there. When I was in there, it was mainly teenagers just checking it out. They didn't have anything else to do that day. It looked like they were just looking to see what the new thing was in the Apple Store.
Okay.
And then a lot of older people were in there. They were getting training. And so they had, and one was for iPhone and one was for the iPad. And so I kind of reminded me of my grandma because I know she went in there and they trained her how to do the touch screen and everything. So, yeah, and I mean, I know that you can incorporate the Apple TV and the iPads and all that good stuff into the classroom. And then I went to Shakey's Pizza. I took my cousin, and we went into the arcade. And they still had my favorite games. That one, it's called Cyclone, where the light goes around and you have to, like, push it. It's kind of like your reflex skill. You have to push it as fast as you can. So a lot of kids were playing that. And then there was the basketball game where you try to shoot the hoops. And I talked about in my reflection that you can incorporate something like that into the classroom. I've seen where you can, like, put a little sticky basketball hoop on the whiteboard.
Oh, right.
Have kids, make baskets. And then it's cool if you have, a team game or something, or a Jeopardy, and you have them make a basket, and for every basket they make, they answer a question or something like that.
Good idea.
Yeah, so just that was fun.
I haven't seen Cyclone. I don't know that game. Is it like a video screen, with...
No, it's like you stand around this circular thing, and there's like 6 people can stand around it, and this light moves around and around and around. And when the light comes to you, you have to try to hit your button. And if you hit it right on the right spot and you have good reflexes, then you get so many tickets. And if you hit it a little bit away, then you get less tickets. But it's fun.
Sounds fun. I'll look for one this weekend. We're going to the beach, so with a big arcade. So it reminds me of kind of like whack-a-mole.
Yeah. It's all about reflexes, and I don't have very good reflexes. I found out.
I'm not sure how good mine are either. So cool. That sounds fun. Okay, Josiah, how about you?
So the 3 places I went were pretty similar to what other people were saying. Best Buy, Toys R Us, and then the different one was I went to an arcade at the Brunswick Bowling area. So this was not an assignment that I would naturally be excited about. I don't like going out in public and observing other people, but I did it. And
did you enjoy it a little bit?
I like to people watch, but like maybe at an airport. I think just standing and watching kids playing is a little weird.
I know. Yeah.
So I tried to just kind of get more like, I basically was playing with toys and watching them at the same time, so it wasn't as awkward.
Good. So you were playing with the stuff too.
Yeah. But it was definitely a learning experience. It was strange going back to like a toy store I hadn't been in a long time. Brought me back to my childhood days and feeling excited about different games. What's that?
You notice anything in particular very different from when you were little?
Yeah, I feel like there's more to look at. I feel like there's more selection, but maybe that's just because as a kid you're very like tunnel vision. You see what you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
A few observations, it did seem like a lot of the toys were accessible, but maybe just as many were, not accessible to kids. They were boxes and stuff, so they kind of just couldn't play with anything, which is understandable. You don't want them breaking action figures and such. But yeah, definitely saw kids getting excited about the toys. Probably the least exciting area of the toy store was the educational software.
Yeah.
It just looked so boring. And I didn't see any kids in that section.
Well, were they able to play any of the software there?
No.
Was there anything set up to...
There wasn't. So it's understandable.
Well, yeah.
But visually, like, it just was not engaging. So it was just interesting, There's different ways to approach it, but software did not. I don't think kids would be asking their parents for it.
Yeah. Okay.
But I was impressed with just the amount of actually science-related toys. There's a lot of like experiment stuff and like biology-related material you could use. I have a niece who's really into nature, and so I could see her getting excited about those sections. So that was Toys R Us. Best Buy it had not been as long since I'd been there, so I wasn't as surprised by my reactions. But I still was able to see it kind of in a different perspective of how to use that in the classroom and how to basically allow for different choice, like in the electronics. There's a lot you can do with it. So something funny about me is I don't have a smartphone. I have a MacBook and I have an iPad, but I don't have a smartphone, and my students give me grief about it all the time. So that was one area that I was looking at specifically. Maybe I'll be won over soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the arcade. Nothing special. What stood out to me about the arcade is it really brought me back to. I actually taught in Japan for 2 years. I taught English, and the culture in Japan is very much like adults do childlike things, and it's normal. Like you'll go to the arcade and play, and everybody does it. Everybody does it. So that wasn't weird to me, but I didn't see any other adults playing at the arcade. It was mostly 10-year-olds and me. So, yeah. But interesting.
Well, yeah, that must have. I mean, I think at some arcades, maybe it's the time of day that you go, or the time of, I don't know, but I've seen adults play in the arcades, but it might depend on like the time or whatever.
That's true.
Yeah, but yeah, that must have felt kind of weird if you were the only adult playing.
Yeah, I felt like a teacher again. It's like watching kids. Don't get into trouble.
That's cool about Japan. I like that. I like that in Japan, that they play. And my husband and son went to China, and I saw video and stuff of people play outside too. Ball and other things that they jump around on, and like gymnastic things, and just people of all ages.
Yeah, definitely.
They do things that I haven't seen here.
Yeah, I mean the same. I don't want to get off onto a tangent, but like same with animations, it's not considered like a kid thing. Like adults watch cartoons and kids watch cartoons. So just a different understanding of the.
That's interesting. Medium. It's an interesting cultural, concept. So, cool. Okay, thank you. Okay, Rachel, tell us about your experience.
Okay, so I went to Toys R Us and Apple Store and Dave & Buster's. And at Toys R Us, I was watching a little girl testing out a whole bunch of bikes, and I think it was her parents or her grandparents. They were kind of like in the middle. Were with her, and she tested out like 3 different bikes in the about 20 minutes that I was watching her, and it was neat because she was so excited about it, and so I talked about how she was definitely learning kinesthetic skills like balance, and even though it had the training wheels, it was still like the ones that like teeter-totter back and forth.
How far was there a place where she could go a little bit, or?
No, she was just going up and down the little aisle where the bikes
so they do let them do that. That's cool.
I guess. And then after I watched her for a little bit, I went over to the Leapfrog, where all those little Leapfrog things are. And the last time I had seen Leapfrog, it was just like the little handheld thing. And now they have like little tablets and everything, and you can download little games for them. Or I don't know about the other ones, but I know that they have like the games that you could stick in there and you play those.
Mm-hmm.
And those are really neat because it kind of got me thinking, which I'll discuss again later. But I also went to the Apple store and I was checking out the iPad minis, and I thought, well, why do they need iPad minis when they can get these little Leapfrog tablets that are way cheaper and more at their level? And then you can download certain learning games from those. So, I mean, I just kind of started thinking.
Are there free games that you can download for them?
I don't know. I don't know how
that
it
would
works.
be a big issue. I mean, with my school, they got a bunch of mini iPads, and they're very they're wonderful. They're useful because there are just so many free apps and more every day, and they're high quality. You know, so that's the thing. It might be more expensive in the first place to get the machine, but if you have access to more, then it ends up being worth it in the long run too.
I agree. And then next year I'll be teaching first grade, and they got a class that, there's 12 iPad minis, and all I can think about is how to drop them and break them, and it just scares me because they're so.
No, if they haven't already, suggest it. They have these rubber cases that ours are all in, and they do drop them, and nothing. It's like they're encased in a sponge.
Oh, good.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I've seen those for the iPhones too. I think they have those for iPhones.
I'll see if I can find a link to them so you can see, because they're all different colors, pink, orange. The only bad thing is that the boys don't want to use the pink ones, and I'm like, it's the same thing. It's just the case. I know, but I don't like pink. So, but they're wonderful because, yeah, they're not breaking. And I was surprised also that the size of the iPad minis is not bad at all. I thought, when I heard mini, I thought it was going to be really a little bit bigger than the phone, but it's a fine size screen.
Yeah.
For much less than a regular, iPad.
Right. And then so I went, like I said, I went to the Apple store, and I was watching a lady, and she was older, probably like, I would say her late 40s maybe, and the guy, and she was doing like a little class thing, and the person who was teaching her very basic skills, and I noticed that some of my classmates also commented on it, and I think it was Josiah said that it was weird that he was only teaching her basic skills, but then I thought, oh yeah, he's right, that is weird, but then I thought, wait, I didn't even know how to do that, and I'm supposed to be in this technology age, so, I mean, I think I caught them at the beginning of the lesson, and I think that's why I still at the basic part, because I only got the basic part too, because I just got a MacBook too, and they're pretty hard, but
yeah, there's a lot to learn, but especially there's different amounts of resistance from people too. I mean, I'm really very proud of my mom because she's 71, and she's very technology open. She has an iPad, and she's just open to learning things, but her husband's very resistant. Will not text, and doesn't want to read anything on the iPad, and other people too. Oh my gosh, I was at school before the end of the year, and did I tell you guys this yet? A sub walked in and was asking for a phone book, and I'm like, well, I don't know where a phone book would be, but why don't you just look it up online? And she ignored me, and then I said, you could look it up online. And she's like, well, sometimes that's just too much trouble. And it's like, people don't just not use technology, they're kind of angry sometimes.
Yeah, my grandpa is like that.
Yeah, so anybody, over 50 that's willing and able and wants to learn, I'm on their side, because I think just that willingness is half the battle right there, and then just learning to have fun with it and play with it instead of being mad at it.
I agree.
So in the Leapfrog area, were there kids looking at stuff there?
No, I didn't see any kids over there.
Could they try things out or no?
Yeah, they could. They were able to pick it up and play with it, but I think they just had to play what was in the console or whatever little app thing they had on there.
Yeah.
So I don't think they were very interested in it.
Right. The other thing too is I'm not sure do you know how high up in grade leapfrog games go?
I don't know. I know I have a friend who has a daughter and she's in 2nd grade and she plays the games, but the one she had wasn't educational at all. So I really didn't. I was like, oh, that's weird. I thought it was only educational. So I don't know.
That's what I was thinking also. I'm not trying to be just totally pushing Mac or iPads over Leapfrog. I think the Leapfrog's cool, but if you get the iPads, they can go up to whatever age.
Right.
So you got to think about adaptability too.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, like if you were in a 1st grade class and you could write a grant for having Leapfrog stuff just for your kids in your class, that would be really a great way to introduce them to the use of technology.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Okay, Yvette, tell us about your time. Thank you, Rachel.
Okay. Yeah, I pretty much went to a lot of the same places everybody else did. I went to the Mac store. I'm on my 3rd Mac. I love them. Like, I don't think I'll ever go back to a PC.
Mm-hmm.
I did take a look at some of the new stuff when people, left the area because they were playing with everything. I think there was if there was one bit of technology that probably was a little bit more ignored than the others, it was probably the iPods. They not as many people, but everything else just seemed like people were gathered around it. And I had the same experience as Josiah. I didn't like, I felt uncomfortable looking at people. I think they felt, and this could have just been me just thinking this, that I was waiting, for them to get off. I noticed a lot of people on Facebook.
Did you ask any questions?
Pardon me?
Did you ask any of them any questions about what they were doing?
Yes, I did. Eventually, because my family's, knew what I was going in there for.
Yeah.
So they were actually asking before I was, and they finally said, "Okay, this is my home. This is my assignment." So I did ask some questions, if people were receptive to to me, asking them questions. I did. There was one person playing something called Ink Ability, I think. It looked like he was just making notes, just some interesting notes. Another person was playing something called This Only Has One Level. I think that's what it's called. This only has one level. GarageBand, Facebook. I did talk to an employee over there. They said, because I was asking, curious what they thought most people were coming in playing with,
Nice.
and they said everything. Although the majority of the adults that go in there, what they usually do is try out the apps, because they said that they have pretty much every single app on there. So before they buy it, they come in and try it out. I did. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it is. I didn't even know that was an option. That seems like pretty obvious. And I did see people getting trained. I didn't look to see, if it was basic or not. But wherever somebody was getting trained, other people were behind them. I don't know if they were like necessarily their families, but other people were just watching them getting trained. That's what I saw.
So kind of they were probably learning as well if they were paying attention, huh?
Sure. Yeah. Right. And I had read Rachel's post about not figuring things out. I had some problems with this one too, because it's a little bit different from the last one I had. I think on my previous one, to scroll down, you just go one way on the tracker, and this one was a little bit different, and it actually had more options than the other one. I was like, I couldn't even figure out how to get to a new page or how to turn it. I thought this is worse than the other one. That it was like, but now this one is obviously more convenient than the previous generation that I had.
So you just have to adapt to it.
Yeah, you do have to adapt it. You have to play around with it. Right. And I have to say that I learned from classmates who had one, so kind of like peer learning. So,
right.
So that's how I learned on my computer. The other store I went to was at the mall called, I think it's Toy Store Depot. And I'd been there before, and I'd purchased things before, but this was a interesting experience because I was looking at it like through the eyes of looking to see what people were playing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of adults were looking at boxes, a lot of children were looking at boxes, but hardly anybody was playing anything because everything was like shrink wrapped. The die-cast toys, even the die-cast toys, they were shrink wrapped. And there were signs everywhere that says, please don't touch, please don't bounce. I thought, oh, that's just not fun. The stuff that didn't have that, I think like a T-Rex grabber, people were playing with that. The things that didn't have signs, the things that were accessible, people were touching. Looked like people were buying it. The thing that I thought was getting the most action, I guess, was the stuff up at the front of the store that was like a bargain section, little balls, little dies, little lizards, little puzzles. Those are the things that people were playing with, and it looked like they were buying. I didn't see technology, but I'm thinking now, oh, it probably was behind the desk. I just didn't notice it.
So you think that store needs to get a clue?
Right, and I thought to myself, and I think I even read about it in my post. I said, what I learned from that is like if I want the students to use the stuff, I need to have it accessible to them.
Yes. Right.
And then the last place I went to was Mulligan's. And I guess I'm just from an older generation. People were playing, for sure. People were playing everything. People were waiting to play things. I was looking for Miss Pac-Man. I was looking for, pinball machines.
They didn't have the classics?
No, the skee ball. They had skee ball, and I played the hockey table. There was like the four-player one I think that Rachel mentioned over at Dave & Buster's. We tried that one out too. We actually had 2-on-1. I thought the 2 was just horrible. We kept just bumping into each other. But maybe smaller kids might, or maybe with some practice, I was even looking for Dance Dance Revolution, but
yeah.
It was because I thought that might be, a fun thing to incorporate.
I'm surprised they didn't have those.
Yeah, they did.
Most places have a mixture.
Right. There was like 2 main sections. The first section looked like it was a lot of those agility games that people were talking about, where you just kind of just slam on a button, and then wherever it lands, you get like a ticket. Yeah. And people were playing it. I maybe because I'm older, I just thought, oh, that seems like it was so boring. But I guess if you just need some tickets or some tokens, I guess that's a quick way of getting.
Right. It depends what they're in it for too. Yeah.
Right. And then it just seemed like the rest of the games were a lot of repetitive. A couple of 2 shooting games, even though they were across the arcade. There was just like, okay, that's the same. 2 skate ball machines, 2 motorcycles.
What about the age of the players? Was it a range?
A lot of kids, obviously. I think there was like a birthday party going on, but adults were playing too. Especially if they had little kids. They were helping them play.
Yeah.
Okay. That was fun.
All right. Good. Okay. Well, it sounds like you guys had a pretty good time out there, and you definitely all made insights. Your reflections show that you were really looking at everything with a critical eye. So, very nice work. So, okay, what we're going to do now is let's see, Project 1's due tonight. I'm going to show you Project 2 and also 3. They're kind of the same thing, except Project 2 is just a lesson, 1 class period, and Project 3 is a unit plan. So what you're going to do for Project 2 is grid your favorite, or get your favorite activity from the grid that you made, the Bloom's-Gardner grid. You can get something from there, and then make a lesson around it with deeper technology integration. So make sure you bring in technologies, and it needs to be able to be a lesson that can be completed in 1 day, 1 class period, and your students will have a project that's due at the end of that class period. And so with this project, the lesson, the project's going to be much smaller than the project's going to be for Project 3, for the unit plan, because that's going to be after a long, like 2 to 3 weeks of work, and then they're going to have a big culminating project. So for Project 2, it's just 1 lesson. The end product that you have for them, you need to keep it reasonable. It needs to be something that they're going to be able to complete that day, that you'll be able to score that day. So it may just be the notes they take. It may just be a sketch that they do or something. Just something that's fairly small but measurable. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and open up Project 2, and I will make a checklist again for that, because I think that's helpful. Was that helpful for you guys for Project 1, the checklist?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so remember, you're seeing my screen now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so remember that I'm going to modules. Remember that all the templates are in Session 1. So any templates that you need to find, look here in Session 1 under Project Templates. Okay, so here's the Project 2 template. Let me go ahead and download a sample and the rubric. Okay, I'm just waiting for it to open. Okay. I got impatient and opened it 4 times. Okay, so here's the template for Project 2. Your name, the title of the lesson, your grade level, the subject, time frame, so it's probably going to be like 50 minutes or 55 minutes, something like that, 1 class period. And the student learning outcomes, the goals. By the end of that lesson, students will be able to do what? Okay, or that's the objectives. We'll look at the sample to see the difference between these. Your content and technology standards, so you're going to, just as you did in your Project 1 where you did your unit outline, remember to integrate at least 2 content standards and then also bring in your ISTE standards, your technology standards for students. You're going to list all the materials that you're going to use, both digital and non-digital. Now notice that on the other side here there's a shaded column for the intelligences. So you're going to list across from each material, you're going to list the intelligences that it addresses. So there's going to be a lot of redundancy on this side where the intelligences are, so you could copy and paste, but just make sure that you don't want to just list all your materials and say all the intelligences will be addressed. You need to actually specifically say which intelligences will be addressed by each and every one of the materials. Same thing with the procedure. The procedure is going to be a numbered list, very detailed, so even a sub could run this lesson if you weren't there. And any links that you have, any URLs, any apps, you're going to have the link straight to it. So if a sub or you 3 years from now were using this, all you'd have to do is click to get the materials. All the materials you need should be right in this lesson plan. Even if you have handouts, have the handouts as part of this. So your procedure, every step, you're going to align with the intelligences. And then the product is what they're going to do by the end. And the assessment rubric is going to be the rubric that you create, like the ones that I showed you last time, from RubyStar or any rubric creator that you want to use, TaskStream or iRubric or anything. So that is that. Now I'm going to show you the example. Okay, so the lesson title is A Dual Timeline. The goal, to allow students to visually organize important dates and events in both mainstream U.S. history and world history. Students will be able to make the correlation between what is going on in the U.S. at a particular point in time and how those events affected women and their efforts to gain the right to vote. Okay, objectives. See, objectives, I want those to be listed in the wording students will be able to. Okay, this can be here the goal of your lesson. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? But here under objectives, you should list the actual what the things are that you want your students to know or be able to do when you're done. The intelligences that they're going to use, you don't have to address all of the intelligences. In fact, you really shouldn't in just the lesson, because that's spreading it too thin. In a unit, you're going to address all 8 intelligences, but in the lesson plan, you only have to address 3 of them. This particular one has 4. Here's the technologies they used, and then the standards. They integrated social studies and writing, and then here's their ISTE technology standards. Now, here's the materials, and you see how every single one of the materials over here is aligned with the exact intelligences that they address. Scroll down, you see the procedures, a bulleted list. Every step in the procedure is aligned with the intelligences that they address. Notice that here there's a link that's live. You should click to that and it goes straight to the material. And then the product, groups will be assessed based on their ability to research information on the web for their timelines, accuracy of dates and facts presented, use of classroom time and visual or oral presentation of the timeline information to the class, as well as the correct form and grammar for the written narrative. So that's the product, and these are the intelligences the product addresses, and then here is the rubric for that. And notice at least 15 events, 10 to 14 events, 5 to 9 events, fewer than 5 events. It's all very quantitative, and that's what you want for this rubric. You want to use numbers or percentages so that you can actually back up the score that you gave the student. It's going to be black and white. There won't be any question about why you chose a particular score because it's measurable. And that is what the lesson plan looks like. And then here's the rubric. Sorry it takes so long. Come on. It may be frozen. Well, while I'm waiting for this to open, are there any questions about the lesson plan?
On the lesson plan,
No?
it says that, or you said we only wanted it to be one day, but the one you showed us had 3 different days. So it's just one day, right?
Yes, it's just one day. And it said that they were going to do that lesson for 3 days, but aren't the instructions just for one of those days? Because it was just 6 steps in it. If those directions were for more than one day, then that was a mistake. I mean, it should not have been. So yeah, just one class period. Okay, so here's your final multiple intelligences. This is the unit plan rubric. Okay, and basically it's the same. You're looking for the same things. It's just more extensive. The unit is just going to be 2 to 3 weeks, whereas the lesson is just one week or one class session. Okay, so yeah, see intelligences, at least 2 to 3 multiple intelligences addressed. I think I'm gonna. These were the materials that came in the curriculum, but I think I'm gonna make a specific one for the lesson plan and a specific one for the unit plan, because the lesson plan can have just 2 to 3 multiple intelligences addressed. The unit plan needs to have all 8. These standards here, the technologies, the standards, those are the same. materials, activities. Explain thoroughly. Connections are made in such a manner that another teacher could use the lesson plan without having to contact the author. So you see, that's why you need to make sure that any handouts, anything that you use, you don't even have to put it here. If you have a handout, you could just have a link that goes to it that would open if you click it. The student rubric is quantitatively developed. Okay. So that's pretty much the lesson plan. And the unit plan, I'm not going to open it tonight, but the unit plan, just the same thing, but 2 to 3 weeks long. But let's just concentrate now on Project 2. And so it's not going to be due, it'll be due a week from today. Okay, so next Monday, Project 2 will be due. So send me drafts just like before. Ask me questions anytime. Okay? No questions on it right now? Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to talking about music and art, and talking about the multiple intelligences in relation to music and art. So first we're going to go to YouTube. I'm going to give you some links, and we'll be listening to things separately and discussing them in here in the chat. I'm going to open my chat box. Okay, so first let me get my notes. Session 5. Okay, hold on. Okay, this first YouTube video that I have is, I wanted you to see an example of somebody who has an extremely strong musical intelligence and really is very limited in other intelligences. This is an extreme example. As you know, most of us are not all or nothing. Most of us we have our overlapping intelligences. But this man is named David Pavaricini, and he is autistic, and he very, very limited in areas like reading, writing, math, but you will see how incredible he is as far as what he can do musically. And what I want you to do when you're watching this, what I did when I saw this, is I thought about how, knowing that what we're learning about here with multiple intelligences and how to differentiate our instruction, how might his education have been different when he was younger by harnessing his incredible strength in music? What might have been done for him by teachers? So go ahead and go to that link, and I'm going to mute mine, and I'm going to keep the chat open so we can chat while we're watching it. So maybe make your screen half and half.
When Derek Paravicini is playing
What'd you guys think? Any thoughts, reflections?
It's shocking the contrast between him playing and just hearing him speak. You wouldn't see it as the same person at all.
Right. Right. It's amazing, you know, hearing that, and then he couldn't hold up a certain number of fingers. It's shocking, you know, but it really shows you how drastically different his strengths and weaknesses are. Can any of you guys think about just that, holding up a certain number, and that he couldn't do it? I'm not saying that there's any, you know, guarantee, but can you think of some ways that, knowing what he can do and how his brain works, things that you might try if he was younger, you know, in your classroom as a child, things that you might try to help him learn?
I suppose you could translate questions into musical terms so that he would, I mean, I don't know if he understands that either. Maybe he only understands how to play. Maybe he doesn't know, like, theory, but maybe break it down into a way that's musical. Yeah.
Or just putting pretty much anything you could to music, to a rhyme, to a tune.
Right. I don't know if this applies, but I know in my toddler classroom, I do set instructions to music. I'll say, go and wash your hands. Or sometimes even just to help them remember, I'll just go and wash your, and they'll finish it off, and they'll sing it. They'll go, hands.
Right. Exactly. And that's getting stuck in their heads that way. Exactly. I wonder if he had been taught letters or numbers that way, if it would have stuck, you know. I mean, I really doubt that when he was younger and in school, anyone was talking about what we're talking about now, you know, really giving him instruction in that way. But, yeah, my friend, she teaches kindergarten at my school, and same thing when the kids wash their hands, there's a song they all sing so that they wash long enough. You know, they have to do the whole song before they're done washing. It's like wash your hands. Da, 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 da. I don't remember, but yeah, it's a dramatic example. Okay.
I actually have an autistic student in one of my classes from this past year, and he is very limited in what he can do. But the way that our school is set up, we emphasize group projects, team, everything. So he's always in a team. And basically we just try to set him up to succeed and to affirm anything he can do. He has a hard time, you know, even speaking in front of other people, but when he can stand up and say some prompted phrases and stuff, we all, you know, support him and help him feel like he succeeded at his own level.
So the students are participating in that too? They're being supportive, the other students?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good environment for him.
Good. It's good for them too, you know?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Wow. Yeah, and I've noticed too, when I first started learning about, you know, autism a long time ago, I thought it was just one thing, you know, that one condition. I have learned that the word spectrum is true. There's just such a broad range and so many different types and abilities and behaviors and everything on there. So I find it really interesting. I think of technology, and I wonder if someday there will be some sort of technology that will be like a decoder, you know, because sometimes so many of them are, you know, people with autism are so bright, but they're not able to express what they're thinking, and that makes me curious. I want to know, what are you thinking, you know? And I wonder if there'll ever be something that enables them to express it more easily. Okay, so what we're going to do now is remember that when we watched the videotapes, there was the professor in Hogwarts in the Boggarts video, how he put on the record player, and we were talking about how teachers can put on music in their classroom to set the mood. It can be when students are working. It can be something just to have in the background, or it can be the focal point of the lesson if it goes with what you're learning about. So I've got some different examples here. One example, I'm not going to play it here, but I'll tell you that when I had my just a regular 4th, 5th classroom, I would use music a lot and print out the lyrics for my students. So like one example was Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, and I was using GLAD strategies, which is guided language acquisition device, and putting lots of pictures up. And so with the lyrics, like my students, English language learners, they weren't familiar with the word dock or bay. And so just songs like that, songs that I loved and enjoyed playing in my classroom, and they loved singing them and learning them, also using them as a way to teach vocabulary. So hold on, I'm going to get you a link here. Oh, here it is. Okay, this link is called The Planets, and while it's playing, we're going to be discussing. I want you to chat while it's playing things that it makes you visualize. I know. Let's see. Hold on. It makes you visualize things that you could do in your classroom while playing this music. Activities that you might do. So while it's playing, chat in here about what you're seeing, what you're thinking, and what activities you could have your students do while it's playing. Okay, so this is the planets. I'm going to mute and I'm going to go to mine.
Hmm.
Good idea, Josiah. Compiling a list. That's a really nice idea. And I like your idea of using it as signals too. Yeah, there's a lot out there, and like, look at that, YouTube. It's right there, free, easily accessible. So the things we used to have to go through just to get music and play it in the classroom, whether it was the old record machines or cassette tapes or whatever, everything is really very quickly, instantly available to us now. I mean, just on the spur of the moment, just like that, I was in my classroom and playing the little kids. It was kinder or first or something, and they were singing "Let It Go," and I heard the song so many times, and I'm like, you guys need to see some other princesses. And so I just went on YouTube, and the little kids, they weren't as familiar with some of the ones I was showing them, but just in an instant I found them Snow White singing, and Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty, Little Mermaid, Princess Jasmine, Mulan, all of them, you know, I'm like, here's some princesses for you, just trying to get them out of the rut that they're in. And it was just that quick and easy just to type in Disney princesses, and they've all got songs that they're singing. So there's a lot of music out there that's this. Now this one that we were listening to, it's very strong. It's pretty loud. You have to really think about what lesson that you're having the students do while you're playing particular music. It wouldn't be, I wouldn't play it when I want them to be discussing stuff in groups unless I turned it way down. Working independently, working quietly, yeah, art, maybe like what Josiah said, a pre-write, of that, talking about a group activity, as long as they didn't have to talk too much, that they were just like acting through things. Uh-oh. Hold on, I got to turn on the electricity because my battery's going to die. Okay. So that's one. Here's another one that I'm going to give you, and it's called Pause Fiddle, and it's a bit different. It goes right with particular units that you could use it with. Okay, so I'm going to give you the link to this, and then we can chat about it while it's playing. Go ahead and go to Pause Fiddle. Okay. So yeah, I really enjoyed that slideshow. I enjoyed the music because it really does set the mood for that time period for units like that. But I also really love that particular slideshow because for a long time I didn't know what the real characters looked like. I only knew what the illustrations in the book looked like, and I watched the TV show too. But it's really interesting to me to get to see the real people. So, yeah, we do simulations like Oregon Trail simulations where the students get in groups and pretend that they're, on a wagon, kind of like the computer game, but we actually have them acting it out, doing role playing. Okay, so that's some discussion about the use of music in the classroom and how you can use it to set the scene, for all your students, but also, you are really addressing your musical learners much more than maybe they often get addressed during the normal course of the year by making a deliberate effort to work music into your teaching practices. Then just that in itself is addressing some of your students that really are strong in that area. So the next thing that we're going to do, I'm going to close my YouTube, we're going to be looking at different works of art. And you're going to be discussing the intelligences that you see reflected in these works of art. And I know that sounds a little weird, but as soon as we start talking about the different works of art, you'll see what I mean. We'll get rolling, and you'll see what it all means, just like we did with the videotapes. So I'm going to share my screen. Oh, am I frozen? Okay. Okay, so if you want to get to these pictures on your own, you go into Modules, Session 5, Art and Music Links. And here you see you've got links right there to the planets and Pause Fiddle. Oh, there's one more I have to show you before we start. Okay, let me get the link, and you can see it on your own. You're going to love this one. This is so catchy and fun. Come on.
It's called my daily idea book, and I can write as much as inventions as I want in one day, or I could just do one a day. But I choose to do as many as that pop into my head. It's because I'm making something and it's coming from my heart and my head. I love helping people, so then I know that that's what real inventors do, and I will become a professional one someday.
How do you start to get close to
Do you love that? Are you all done with it? That video, when I see that and that song and everything, it makes me want to run out and become a paleontologist. I mean, I could just see kids getting into it and just, wow, they're going to want to study dinosaurs. And I love Bill Nye, too. He's cool. So, yeah, that's really, really fun. Really would be a cool, way to start a unit on dinosaurs or archaeology. And one more great resource that I really only discovered a month or two ago is if you search for Mr. Parr's Science Songs. It's a teacher and on YouTube, and he has written these, I think he's using auto rap or something for the music, but he's written words for all these different science topics. So you can go, straight there and search for whatever topic you're wanting to teach about. So now we're done with the music. Let's see. Okay. So that's the dinosaur song, and that's this is all in Canvas under Art and Music links. So here's the artwork that's in here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open on my screen. If you want to, you can look at it on your screen. Hopefully you'll be able to see mine big enough. I just won't be able to see. Well, I'm going to see if I can open it up and scoot it over because we want to have a discussion about them as we're looking at them. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so you can see it on my screen. It's just I'm trying to get so I can chat with you guys at the same time. It would be better if you look at it on your own screen. Are you guys able to get to those links, and will they work on yours?
Every time I open it, it just says access denied.
Are you logged in to APU?
Yeah.
Is anybody able to access the pictures? Anybody? They all say access denied? Oh.
I'm trying.
Okay. Great. There, I think that's okay. You can see it on my screen pretty well, right? Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as I don't click on the chat box. Okay, so you guys can type in there, but I'm going to be talking. So in this photo of the buildings, what kind of intelligences do you see addressed in this photo? So I'm going to give you one so you can get the idea. I see mathological because of all the shapes. If you look, you can see the different squares, rectangles, a few circles. See what I mean? So there's your mathological there. What other intelligences do you think of when you see this photo? Right, definitely, Yvette. Naturalistic, it's outside, there's a sunset, there's clouds in the sky. When we're looking at these, thinking of the intelligences, it definitely makes us notice things that we might not notice at first. Would you say you guys, interpersonal or intrapersonal? Okay. Okay. Somebody explain why. Why intra?
It's like an eagle-eye view of the city. It's kind of like a perspective that you wouldn't have. I don't know. It's like a point of view that's almost omniscient. I don't know how to explain the connection.
Well,
I think I know what you mean. Hmm?
It seems like you're up and away. You're single. You're all by yourself, visualizing
Yes.
what's happening down there.
Right. Right. And like Josiah said, sort of an omniscient point of view. You definitely feel like you're alone, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's introspective. Good, Yvette. Now, when you look at this, there is a different point of view. This could also be thought of as interpersonal. If you think about all the people that are down there interacting and all, you know, in their lives down there, if you think about it that way. There's the interpersonal aspect of all the people living in this scene. How about visual spatial? What visual spatial is definitely in here. Can anyone explain in what way or why, other than it being a photo? I'm thinking of perspective. There you go. Good, Danielle. You typed it as I said it. Right, perspective. You've got the horizon going off in the distance. You've got your buildings bigger up close and smaller as you go back. That's a visual spatial intelligence. I don't see musical here, but when I say this, I have to tell you that with all the times I've taught this class, inevitably someone will bring something up that was never discussed before, that they see a multiple intelligence reflected in these that no one ever saw before. So when I say that I don't see musical in this, somebody else might. I don't really see verbal linguistic either. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Okay. Okay, what do you guys think? Definitely verbal linguistic. You've got writing right in it. Visual. And notice that not only are there words, there's text in this, but also notice the font. Does it give you some feeling, the font itself? Okay, Josiah, interpersonal, I definitely see that. Intrapersonal, Danielle, can you explain intrapersonal?
Yeah, I mean, just with, if you have a connection to, the military and you know this history, then you're going to have a personal opinion, I guess.
Right. Really kind of anything political. You're right. Anything like that, people are going to have very strong opinions about things. So that is an intrapersonal intelligence, and the interpersonal we can kind of see the people all together and stuff. Musical patterns. Rachel, do you see what's I'm looking? Is there something that you see that's musical? I'm not sure. Logical, I see the shapes. Existential, I get what you mean by that.
Sorry.
Rachel?
I see a lot of the red on the outsides. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, so I see like the shapes, the patterns of the shapes that are, and then the red is like on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly just like.
Well, I think the patterns are more visual in nature, and the color. The thing that I see is maybe musical, and rhythmic would be. I can't point out something in particular, but I feel like there probably would be horns and drums and stuff going on. So I can see it being musical in that nature. There's more to it down there. Okay. All right, we're going to go to the next one. Okay, what do you see in this one? This is called Mirror Dancer. Okay, visual textures. There's lots of textures in here. Intrapersonal, right? Not, in fact, it's kind of a double meaning with the intrapersonal because she's all alone, but not only that, she's looking in a mirror, and so that's being reflective. She's looking and thinking about herself and how she looks. Mm-hmm. Josiah, would you say kinesthetic because she's moving, or because she's getting ready to dance, or because she's doing her hair?
You said it was called the dancer?
Uh-huh.
It's like captured in motion, I guess.
Right.
With her arm up.
Yeah, and even the lines kind of reflect movement. Mm-hmm. Anybody see naturalistic? If so, explain. Nobody sees anything naturalistic?
There are some flowers.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of more of a subtle color.
Yeah.
Kind of more natural feeling.
Yeah, and yeah, I see the flowers, and then also the wall behind her, it kind of looks like there's a floral, like a plant viney pattern. Do you see that? Okay, so I'm going through the other intelligences in my head. I don't see interpersonal. But you guys, when I say stuff, remember, I don't have all the answers to this. There are no right or wrong answers. So if I say that I don't see something, I would love for somebody to say, well, think of it this way. Like, I don't see math logical. Does anyone? Or interpersonal. I do see musical because she's going to dance, because it looks like she's getting ready to dance. Okay, let's see the next one. Okay, these are sculptures. What do you see? Good. Kinesthetic, they are moving. Pictures of bodies, definitely kinesthetic. Music is implied. Even though you don't hear it, you know it. Visual spatial, good. Kinesthetic. Yep, music. Interpersonal or intrapersonal? Interpersonal. I agree. Okay, so here's the tricky one. I do see math logical. Anybody see something that's math logical and tell me why? Yes. Danielle, you got it. Balance. That, especially the middle one, that knowing exactly how to stand and pose in order to not lose balance, that's a math logical skill, as well as kinesthetic. Good. In a way, I also kind of see, actually I've never said this before, but I also think of naturalistic because I'm not it depends on what these are carved out of. You know? I mean, they kind of look like stone or metal. I don't know. I kind of get a naturalistic feel there. Okay. I love this one. This is called Paris Street, A Rainy Day. What do you think? Okay, yeah, definitely visual spatial because, again, you've really got perspective showing, don't you? With how it goes off into the distance, with things getting smaller and going, the shapes going back. Would you say interpersonal or intrapersonal? Okay. 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 Naturalistic because of the rain, right? The rain. It's, you can even tell sort of it's a misty day. You can see the rain in the streets. You see them holding umbrellas. You all said interpersonal, and I agree. There's a whole bunch of people walking around, some of them in pairs. But I also see intrapersonal. Does anyone else? And if so, tell me why. Okay, there is a man walking by himself. Yes. So that would be intrapersonal. Anything else?
I think too, the way the picture is like you're sitting back contemplating what's going on.
Okay. Okay, so we're sort of like outside observers. So we're intrapersonal. But I think what struck me when I looked at this is even the people that are together, like right in front of us, they don't really seem to be very interactive, do they? It's kind of like the city is full of people, but they're all alone. That's what it seems to me. It seems very quiet. It seems very alone, even though people are out there all together. There's really not communication going on. Definitely looks, yeah, contemplative. How about mathological?
Yep.
Shapes, right?
Symmetry of the balance of the buildings.
Uh-huh. Definitely. In fact, the visual spatial and I think the math logical, yeah, go together hand in hand. The shapes, the angles, the perspective. Good. Okay. I like this picture, and there's another couple that I really like a lot, and I could see. I think a really cool, fun activity for students would be showing a picture like this and having them write a story that goes with it, because they'd all come up with different stories, and using art like this as writing prompts. This one is called The Continents of Scipio. What do you see in this one? It's very bright. It's not letting me, there we go. What do you think? Interpersonal or intrapersonal? Yeah. Yep, I agree. Okay. What else? Visual spatial, okay. I see that. There's background. They're way in the foreground, and then you've got the stuff in the background sort of faded. So you've got this perspective going. I don't see mathological. Kinesthetic. I think I see what you mean, but Danielle, but okay, arm moving. Is that what you meant, Danielle? That he's moving his arm and gesturing?
Yeah.
Okay. I just had something in my head. Oh. There's one that you guys are missing that I think is definitely part of it. Intra? Okay. So like she's just contemplating? Okay. But go through your intelligences. There's something definitely missing, and it's pretty major. No? Maybe Josiah, but that's not what I was thinking. It starts with a V? There you go. Verbal, definitely verbal linguistic. Looks like he's up there giving a speech or reading them the riot act or something, but there's definitely a lot of talking going on here. Good. And you know, I think maybe the visual, not only is there perspective, the visual spatial, but also I think maybe the bright colors would go with visual. Okay, how about this sculpture? Inter and intrapersonal, good. I do see both. They're all together, so that's interpersonal. But it also kind of looks like they're sort of alone in their own. Can you explain more, Yvette, how you mean intra? They're going through their own problem, aren't they? Kinesthetic, because you can see the muscles in their bodies. It looks like they're in torment. Yes, I agree. That it's like they're in torment. They're going through their own personal agony or something. So even though they're together, it kind of reminds me, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what this sculpture is about. Something that they have done, maybe. But I also, maybe it's because of the color of it also. It makes me think of Pompeii when Mount Vesuvius exploded and everybody got buried. I know they weren't all in a pile like this, and well, they probably, I don't know. But you know, the people they found kind of look like this. Okay. Oh, how about mathological? Anybody see anything that's mathological?
Oh, yes.
Somebody said yes. What do you see? Yeah. Progressively getting smaller. Exactly. Reminds me of the phone company ad, the AT&T. Okay. This is Yellow Dancers by Degas. Yellow Dancers. Josiah, Pattern of the People, are you talking about this one?
No, that was for the last.
Okay. Okay. Yep, I see kinesthetic because they're dancers and music. Visual, interpersonal, intrapersonal, Again, they're together, which is interpersonal, but they also look like they're sort of in their own little thoughts, their own thoughts. Naturalistic, yeah, all the flowers and plants around. And here's something funny. I really didn't understand this painting for a long while because I didn't understand. It looks like there's legs and feet on the left-hand side. And finally somebody explained to me that there's a backdrop, that it's like a curtain, you know, for a show. To me, it looked like reflections of feet and legs, and it didn't seem anatomically possible to me. Anybody see anything else? Anything mathological, verbal linguistic? Visual spatial. Okay. Now this is a quote by Renoir about painting and his process of painting, and he's talking about his painting called Chrysanthemums, which I am going to show you here. He says, "I just let my brain rest when I paint flowers," Pierre-Auguste Renoir remarked. "I don't experience the same tension as I do when confronted by the model. When I am painting flowers, I establish the tones, I study the values carefully without worrying about losing the picture. I don't dare do this with a figure piece for fear of ruining it." So now I'm going to show you. There's his Chrysanthemums, looking at this painting and also thinking about his quote. What do you see in this, and what kind of learner do you think Renoir is? Definitely visual. I would say any painter is a very strong visual spatial learner. Yeah, naturalistic. Naturalistic because he really enjoys and feels comfortable painting flowers and plants. Do you think probably he was a very intra or interpersonal person? That's my guess. He actually seems to be sort of uncomfortable, kind of feels a bit threatened at the idea of painting people. Okay. This is another one of my favorites, which I notice when analyzing myself. I think that my preferences when it comes to these paintings reveal my verbal linguistic strength and preference, because I tend to pick paintings, the ones that are my favorite, they seem to be their stories, there's stuff happening. The chrysanthemums are pretty, but I would never hang that on a wall because I think it's boring, and I know I'm not, I'm not speaking for everyone, but I like this where I look at it and I'm trying to, there's so much going on. Kinesthetic, interpersonal, visual. Yeah, the dots, pointillism, And again, do you guys see that it's both interpersonal and intrapersonal? Some of you are saying it. It really, they're all just sort of looking out. Most of them are all just looking out in one direction, not talking to each other. Exactly, same feel as the people in the rain. Uh-huh. Tons of people and everyone's alone. This is kind of funny. Somebody pointed this out to me. Notice that the one little girl in the middle, she's the only one that's looking at us. There's also some strange things in this painting. Notice that the lady right in front has a little dog, but she's also got a little monkey. And you see the rowers out in the river, but look toward the back. Do you see that boat way in the background? The guy under the boat's taking a picture. Yes, it does. I bet that is what he's doing with his cell phone. I'm not sure if it's true, if it is or not, but to me it looks like that boat is sinking. And then some people also mentioned in previous terms how everybody's dressed very proper, very dressed up, except the one guy in front laying back on his arms. He looks like he doesn't fit in. He's wearing sort of workers' clothes, and everybody else is dressed up real fancy. Okay, I'm going to close these and show you some apps for art. Can you see my iPad?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got my art folder here, and I really like Van Gogh, and so I picked some. I just searched for some Van Gogh apps that I'm going to show you. But my point is not to steer you just toward Van Gogh. My point is to really inspire you to, search for apps that go with your particular interests, because there's probably tons of apps on other famous artists, Leonardo da Vinci, Georgia O'Keeffe, whatever you can imagine, and not just artists either, but musicians, inventors. I mean, it's just endless, the apps that you can find. But this is going with art, and so one of them that I picked is this one, Van Gogh Interactive, and I have not paid for the whole version, but this is kind of fun to me. You see it says check this box to make it snow. And so view art and see it's moving.
My favorite beach from here would be off the marina.
It's pretty. And then notice that there's things that you can move around. I'm doing this with my finger. I don't know where it went. Oh. Okay, go back here. Apples. Again, you can see I'm picking this up with my finger right now. I don't know, it's just kind of cool to me to actually be able to manipulate Van Gogh's art like this. I think students might have fun just playing around with it a bit. Is that the only two I can see? Okay. Well, there's that one. there is this storybook, which I think is really cute.
Van Gogh and the Sunflowers, a story about Vincent van Gogh by Lawrence Anhold.
So again, I just have the sample. Come on.
Where Camille lived, the sunflowers grew so high they looked like real suns. Van Gogh. Where Camille lived, a whole field of burning yellow suns.
Okay, so not only does it move like this, but some of them have little activities on them. You can actually paint and do stuff on it. Well, you can only paint on the kid. Okay. So there's that. Exit.
Camille watched everything. He loved the bright colors Vincent used and the strong smell of paint. He saw the face of his father appear like magic on the canvas. The picture was strange, but very beautiful. Portrait of Joseph Roland, 1888.
I'm just seeing what I can do with it.
Portrait of Joseph Roland, 1888.
Oh,
This is a portrait of the postman, Joseph Roland.
I pushed in the bottom right-hand corner. It says "Fun Facts."
Joseph was the father of Camille and the husband of Augustine.
Okay, so this gives you an idea. The book goes on like this. So not only is it a storybook, but you can also do little activities on the pages and get extra information. Now this one is my favorite one because I like to play around doing art things on my iPad. So what you can do is paint your own. You know, so I'm just using my fingers so I can paint, right? But then, there, this guy, I can go here and you can put in things, and I'm just twisting it with my fingers. So you can add things that look like Van Gogh did them. So I think that's fun. So you get the idea of that. There's the directions. Okay, and then there's other, not Van Gogh, but just other art programs that my students love to use, and I love to use it. I would rather them be playing with these than just the, you know, drill games, because it's creative. And if a student does a picture and you want to keep it, it's so easy just to take a screenshot of it by holding the top button down and then pushing the menu button, and then you've got a screenshot that you could put on a web page or print out or whatever you want to do. So there's tons of art programs, and I have downloaded many of them, free ones, and then just sort of picked out my favorite ones and gotten rid of the ones that I don't love so much. Like that. Definitely math logical as well as visual spatial. So I encourage you to download art apps and just play with them, because there are so many out there that are free and they really are fun. And I like the fact that with iPads you have all these different textures and colors and everything. without any of the mess. I'm not recommending it. I'm not recommending to get rid of real paint or anything, but I really enjoy playing around with making pictures with an iPad and not having the cleanup and having all the textures and you know, paintbrush sizes and everything. So I hope I've given you some inspiration. And, oh, okay, one last thing. If you really want to get fun and thematic in your class, which is something I like to do, hold on, I'm going to give you a link. Let's see. Let's see. Just going to go to it. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen again because that'll be faster. I don't know where my links have gone, but let's see. So I'm just on Amazon, and I typed in Starry Starry Night clothes. You can see my page? Can you see the pants?
Yep.
Okay, so here's Starry Starry Night pants, and then if you go down, you see. Well, those are just. Let's see. Oh, that's a cool one too. That art print. So I have some socks. I have some Starry Starry Night socks. I have some impressionist shirts that I like to wear, and I really like these pants. I mean, I would probably wear like a jean skirt down to there. I may just have to get those. Let's see. If you type in like there's some really cool ones. Let's see. There, you get the idea. The kindergarten teachers always like me to wear my art socks, my Starry Starry Night socks and stuff when they're teaching about the famous artists. So just know that if you ever want to get into the, you know, into the theme of what you're doing, it's kind of fun. Whatever you're teaching, often you can find stuff to go with that topic. Scrubs are also a great, you know, like surgical scrubs. Like nurses wear a lot of cute ones nowadays. A lot of times you can find scrubs that go with the topic that you're teaching. So it's fun to me. Not everybody likes to do that, but I do. So that is it for tonight. Any questions, comments, concerns, things to share?
I was just mentioning Google has a site like Art Project. It's called Art Project. You can go into virtual museums for students.
Okay. Nice.
I think it's an interesting idea.
Yeah. It's a wonderful idea because so like virtual field trips. Thank you, Josiah. I didn't even think of that, but like I think there's the Louvre and stuff like that you can go to, you know, virtually. And of course, it's not as great as the real thing, but most of our students won't get the chance to go to the Louvre or maybe go to Washington D.C. and go into the, you know, the big art museum. My mind went blank. What is it? The Metropolitan?
Metropolitan, or go to Smithsonian, or
that's what I was thinking. Smithsonian. It went out of my head, but yeah, it's a great way to expose them of things that that they wouldn't otherwise get to see. Even close to home, school budgets are often limited. A lot of our students don't, have the access to the museums. They may not go visit them very much. And there's also the idea of virtual field trips for things that are impossible, like inside a body or out into outer space or whatever, things that wouldn't physically be possible. And Yvette, you're saying the Hermitage is another virtual field trip museum that's available?
I'd have to check. I was just listing a museum. It's in Rochester, so it's not really easily accessible. So
all the better to be able to go to it online. I'll add these. I'll find those and add these to this lecture for tonight, the art music night, because I hadn't even thought of that, and those are great ideas, and I'll add it to the highlights list too, because virtual field trips are really cool, and you could have your students go on like scavenger hunts or think quests, or make their own presentations about their field trip or something using Haiku Deck or Prezi or anything. So it's limitless what you can do. So start working on Project 2, and Wednesday, when we meet again on Wednesday, maybe you'll have some questions or ideas for Project 2 that you want to discuss by Wednesday, so that you'll really have a good handle on it by this weekend. Okay? So, okay.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Good night. Everybody have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.